Good afternoon, students. My name is Mr. Turner, and I'm one of the assistant principals here at Smithfield Middle School, as most of you probably know. Those of you that don't, I am also the one that is in charge of the RTI program. And so I work directly with the teachers and the interventionists with the program and helping you guys get the support that you need. The RTI program is designed to help students in the math and the reading areas, and that is based on data from you guys, from your STAR scores from previous years, not necessarily just last year's STAR scores in the math and the reading, but also the screener scores. And so, based on the data from your STAR scores, the screeners, and your classroom assessments, projects, and daily grades sometimes is what we come up with on how much support that you might need in the RTI program. And if the data shows that you need some support, you are probably on tier 2, and that means you're going into the RTI lab once or twice a week and working on Compass Learning. If you are on tier 3, that means that you are going into the lab one time a week and working on Compass Learning, but you're also working with the interventionist, whether that be Mrs. Henley in math or Mrs. King in reading. And so if you're on tier 3, that means that you need some extra support where you're actually working in small groups with an interventionist. And the idea behind that is to get you as much support as we can offer here at Smithfield, and then get you up onto tier 2 and then eventually onto tier 1. One of the things that have changed this year is you will be tracking your data online, and you'll be using a Google Sheet for that. Last year you guys charted it on a piece of paper that was kept in the classroom, in the RTI classroom. This year you will be going onto Google Docs and actually tracking your data there. The idea behind that is you have access to your data at any point where you can start having conversations with your teachers, your interventionists, myself, and your parents on your progress in the RTI program. And that progress is going to be based on screeners and what you're currently doing on Compass Learning. And so the idea is to get you guys to become a voice for yourself, become the advocates for yourself. And if you are making gains and you are doing better in the RTI program based on your screeners and the Compass Learning scores, that's where you start having conversations with your teachers and interventionists. If you're on tier 2 and your data supports that you should be moved off of tier 2 and onto tier 1 watch, you need to go see your teacher about that data. What you need to do is pull up that data and show your teacher the progress that you've made. If you're on tier 3 and you want to have those conversations with your teacher, you first need to have them with your interventionists. Show them the data that would support you moving off of that tier. Now, when we talk about data that will support you moving off that tier, what we're looking for is consistency. We're looking for a span of time where you are consistently scoring at a level that would move you off of the current tier that you're on and onto a higher tier. So if you're on tier 3, you would move up to tier 2. Or if you're on tier 2, you move up to tier 1 watch or off of tier 1 watch. And so the idea behind that, guys, again, is to start having conversations with the people that you need to have conversations with as soon as you start showing that you have been successful over a period of time. And what we're looking for is probably a span of at least 4 data points, whether that be the screener or your Compass Learning, or we start having those conversations. And so you may score a 90 on your first Compass Learning assignment. That does not mean that you need to start having conversations with your teacher or the interventionist on getting you off of that tier. Again, what we're looking for is consistency through the screener and Compass Learning. Students, one thing that you will have new this year is an online data sheet. This looks a little bit like what you had last year, but we're going to track more data this year. So what you'll do is you will have this sheet in your Google Drive account. And so when you log into the computer, you'll log into Google and you'll get this sheet. And what you'll do with this sheet is every day you'll come to this sheet. That's the first thing that you'll do. Whether you're working on Compass Learning or you're working on the screener, you'll come to this sheet. I've got one for reading and I've got one for math. And so if you're working on the reading today, you'll click on the reading tab down here. And then if you're going to go to Compass Learning, you'll scroll over Compass Learning, and then you'll see the URL right here, the web address, and then you'll click on the web address. This is where you'll type in your username and password and complete the lesson. Once you've completed the lesson, you will come over here and write the lesson number, the lesson topic, and then your score for that one lesson. So if you're writing notes, which you should be doing when you're doing your reading assignment in Compass Learning, is writing the lesson down and the lesson topic. So you'll already have that information down there. And you'll just continue to track your scores for those lessons in each one of these. When it comes to your STAR Screener, so you guys have already taken a STAR Screener this year for the reading and the math. And this will go by, you'll start with your first one. You'll always start with number one, even if you come into RTI and you're taking your screener for the second time in mid-year, okay? But you'll start with number one. You'll put your scores down there. We will print you off your results, and based on those results, you'll start plugging in your numbers. You won't worry about this table. You won't touch this table. The only thing that you'll ever put on this sheet is your information in this table, and then the information in red for these tables. But as you can see, I already put numbers in for, like, say, the first screener, and this would show 78%. And as you continue to put more data in, so we'll have another screener in October, so that would go for the second one, and you would put that information in on this. This will allow you to have a visual with the graph of where you're at currently with your data, whether you're increasing in those areas or decreasing. And so obviously we want to be increasing at all times. But so after every screener, you'll come in here and plug in those numbers, and you can have up to 6. We won't skip any numbers. So like I said, if you came in January for your MOY, you would have your MOY or your BOY, and then your MOY here, okay? Others started with their BOY, and they had their October, November, and then January screeners. And so once you have tracked your data for your screener, you will come over here to the reading goal. And what you have here is you have a table with the goal that you'll set here in a second, and then these would be the results of each screener that you've taken. So what we've done was we have added up all of number one, the first screener's data, okay, and we averaged that into one grade. So it's like a daily grade where I take 10 different daily grades and give you a daily average. Well, this is taking all your screener data for the first screener and giving you a screener average. And you saw me plug in the numbers for the second screener just a second ago as an example, and then I've done some for the third one. And so this will be a running tally, a total tally of all of your data for each one of your screeners. Now, goal setting. Goal setting will happen at least once a year. It could happen several times a year. What you're looking for is based on your first screener. If you have a screener that you scored an average of 65, okay, then you need to think of a goal, a long-term goal that you would like to reach by the end, either by the end of the year, or a long-term goal that you would like to reach to look at getting out of RTI. And I'll tell you right now, looking at getting out of RTI, if we're looking at these scores, we're looking at least a 75 or an 80 to start having those conversations. Not to get you out, but to at least start having those conversations. So if you're scoring in that 60 to 70 range, and you think that you'll be able to get out of RTI by semester, you might want to put your goal as an 80 to get out. Okay, so if you're 15 points from it, on those next few screeners, you'll have to have an 80 average or right around there. And so if that first one was a 71, the second one was a 75, okay, you're about 5 points from it. And say you reach that magic number of 80 on that third try, and you have an 83. This is where you can start initiating that conversation either with your teacher or the interventionist. If you're working with the interventionist on Tier 3, then you'll talk to the interventionist. If you're on Tier 2 just working in the lab, this is where you'll talk to your teachers, okay, about your progress and how you've done. One thing that we want to see is we want to see the data that you're getting from the Compass Learning. We want to see that as a score that would show and indicate that you are ready to be out of RTI, or maybe just move up a tier. So you may be on Tier 3 and your score was somewhere around the 45% range. Okay, that's what you scored on your first screener. Well, a good goal for that one might be, let's see if we can reach 60%. Okay. If you think that you can reach 60% by semester or even by the end of the year, then that's what we want to look at. Okay, so your first screener, you scored you scored 45%. On that second screener, you really knocked it out of the park. Okay, and you scored a 63. Now, a 63 does not get you off or out of RTI. But we could possibly start having conversations about you moving up a tier from Tier 3 to Tier 2. But you will still be in RTI, and we will still be tracking this data just like we have. So what we need to do is we need to change your goal because you've already met that goal. We don't want to erase this one because we want to see what your progress has been and what you set your goals as. So if your first goal was a 60, and within 2 screeners you have mastered your goal, we need to think of another goal. Okay, so this might be where we can start looking at that 75 range. So you'll plug in your new goal right there, and then you'll track your data accordingly. And so if you had a 66 the next screener, and then you'll just continue to track that new data until you have reached that new goal. Now let's talk about goal setting, writing your goal. We're going to write our goals based on our first screener. The only data that we have will be your STAR scores from last year and then your screener data from the August to September window that you just took. So if your first set of data showed that you had 60 or 45% and you need to write a goal, and that we know that magic number is 60, you'll want to write a goal to show what you're going to do. And so your goal might sound like it might look and sound like that. So when you're writing goals, a couple things that you got to keep in mind. One, we have to have something that you're trying to accomplish. what is the end goal? Well, my end goal would be to score a 60%. Based on my 45% average on the screener, I want to see if I can get to 60%. And some may ask, why would I not want to go 80% or 90% or even 100%? Well, we don't want to write goals that are not going to be obtainable in a certain amount of time. We're not writing goals for the next 3 years. We want to write long-term goals, but nothing longer than the year. Sometimes long-term goals could be at the end of the semester. So if your goal is to, by the end of the semester, receive a 60% average on your screener data, that's what you've got to write in there. So you'll have 60%. This is what you will be measuring, how you're going to, or what numbers are going to get you there. Okay, we're measuring what we're actually going to use. It's going to be the screener data, and we've got a timetable. How long will it take you for you to master that goal? And based on your screener data, 60% would be a good one. This is something that you're going to set for yourself, but remember, when you're setting goals, you want to make sure that it's obtainable. We don't want to shoot the moon. We don't want to go over what is really a possibility in a certain amount of time. Okay. The flip side of that is we don't want to write small goals. So if you had a 45% on your first screener, we don't want to go, I will receive an average of 46% in my screener data by the end of the semester, because there's a really good chance you're going to meet and exceed that before the end of the semester. Now you're having to change your goal already. We want to limit how many times we're actually mastering our goal or trying to master that goal. We don't want to set it too high. We don't want to set it too low. We want a realistic goal for you. Okay, so that's writing goals for reading. Same thing will go for math. I've got the same thing over here. The math data sheet, it looks just the same as the reading, where I've got Compass Learning up top, and I've got the math screener down here at the bottom. And again, all you need to do is click on those names, and then it will bring up the website URL, and then it'll take you there. So this is where you'll track your data. And down here, again, this is where you'll track more of your data. And as you continue to track your data, it will move the graph for you, and you don't have to do anything. And so all we ask is that you don't mess with the graph, because once you start messing with a graph, it could mess up all of your data, and then there are your results accordingly. And so if you have any questions, you can ask Mrs. Horton or Mrs. King or Mrs. Henley on how to track your data and put your information in.